My name is Evelyn Reed. I'm 32 years old. The last words my father said to me that night were whispered over the rim of a bourbon glass. The porch is for disappointments, he said, then walked away, calm proud like nothing had just shattered. He had just guided me, his own daughter, away from my brother's promotion party. Outside, alone with a glass of sweet tea sweating in my hand, I watched through the window. Laughter, glasses raised, my mother beaming, officers in their dress blues proud of my brother. Captain Michael Reed, the golden son, the one who made our father proud. No one looked for me. No one asked why I wasn't inside. I wasn't supposed to be there at all. I wasn't a guest. I was a shadow. And as I stood on that porch, I finally realized I didn't just lose my place in the family. I had been erased. The house looked exactly the same, but I wasn't the same. Red brick, white shutters, still and proud beneath the North Carolina pines. It used to be home. Now it just stood there silent, watching. I walked up the path slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, like the air knew I didn't belong here anymore. I'm Evelyn Reed. I'm 32 years old, and this house, it let me go a long time ago. From the backyard, I heard voices, laughter, glasses, clinking, a toast being made. It wasn't my celebration. It never was. I paused at the side gate, hand resting on the latch. The smell of grilled pork hung in the air, rich and sweet. A memory flashed birthday parties, warm summer nights. But that was a different girl, a different time. I opened the gate and stepped into a world where I no longer existed. Part 3, Eyes That Looked Through Me. I stepped into the yard. The noise hit me first. Laughter, clinking glass, bursts of congratulations. Everywhere I looked, there were smiles. Uniforms, sharp metals, gleaming dresses flowing in soft summer colors. No one noticed me, and maybe that was better. I moved along the edges like fog no one could touch. My brother Michael stood at the center. Center, tall, confident, glowing. He looked so sure, so proud, so much like our father. I kept walking, kept my eyes down. I only wanted a glass of sweet tea. Something to hold, something cold. At the drinks table, I reached for the pitcher. Then I felt a pair of eyes on me. Aunt Marlene. She looked right at me and then quickly looked away. But in that one glance, there it was. Not welcome. Not warmth. Just quiet, sharp pity. That's when I knew, in this place, I was not expected. I was endured. The call for dinner came like a soft ripple. Chairs shifting, voices lowering, a slow, elegant migration toward the long tables. White linens, flags, oak trees draped in string lights, everything picture perfect for someone else's story. I stayed back near the doorway. I already knew there was no place card with my name. That's when I felt it. The shift, the silence, the weight. He was behind me. I didn't need to turn. I knew that presence, the cold gravity of command. General Douglas Reed, my father. His shoes clicked softly on the hardwood. He didn't speak, just placed one hand on my shoulder. Not warmth, not love, control. He guided me without a word to the sliding door, then leaned in close and whispered low and sharp, Michael earned this. Don't let your shadow fall on it. Your place is out there. And just like that, he was gone. The metal chair on the porch was cold, hard. It groaned softly as I sat alone beside the old grill. In my hand, the sweet tea had gone warm. The ice had melted. The glass was damp. Through the sliding door, I could see everything. The toasts, the smiles, the family. My father raised his glass, his voice strong, proud. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew them. He was praising Michael, honoring the Reed legacy. My mother stood nearby, radiant, eyes shining. She looked like joy itself. Then the projector lit up the yard. I turned hopeful for a second, maybe a childhood photo, maybe something that still had me in it. But no, just one image. 3 people in front of this very house. My father, my mother, my brother, a new family portrait. And I wasn't in it. The photo was recent. I remembered that Christmas. I had been home briefly. Tense, uncomfortable. But the picture, it was taken after I left. They waited until I was gone. Not a mistake, not a slip, a choice. They didn't forget me. They removed me. I stared through the glass, watching their faces. 3 perfect smiles. 3 lives moving forward without me. The laughter from inside felt far away like a different language, one I no longer spoke. I looked down at the glass in my hand. No more ice, no more comfort, just silence. They didn't send me away. They didn't scream or curse or slam a door. They simply built a new world and left me out of it. Through the glass, I found his face, my father, laughing, surrounded, celebrated. Even from a distance, I saw it in his eyes, cold, distant, unchanged. That look took me back. 8 years ago, West Point, a night thick with rain and silence. The forest around us was soaked dark heavy. We were cadets running final night navigation, a test before graduation. My squad depended on me. The map was old. The terrain didn't match, but I trusted my compass, trusted my gut. Then something felt off wrong in a way I couldn't explain. I stopped, checked, looked again. A flicker of light ahead, not stars, not reflections. A warning, live fire ahead. We were walking into gunfire, and I had to choose. I raised my hand, halted the squad, radioed command voice, steady clear. Map and terrain don't match. We may be off course. The reply came fast, sharp, dismissive. Negative, Cadet Reed. Trust your instruments. Proceed. But something in me screamed no. It wasn't fear. It was certainty. Then I saw it again. That blinking red light half hidden by trees. Live rounds. A training zone. And we were headed straight for it. I didn't wait. Get down, I yelled. I dove forward, tackled the cadet ahead of me, dragged 2 more into the mud. A second later, gunfire. The air above us tore open. Green tracer rounds lit the night. We should have been dead, but we weren't. Because I disobeyed. No medals, no commendation, just silence and summons. 3 days later, I stood in my father's office at West Point, still in uniform, still damp from the rain. The room smelled of leather and lemon polish. Everything polished, everything proper. He sat behind his desk. Lieutenant Carter Hale stood beside him, calm, collected, ready. I stood alone. No lawyer, no defense, just truth. Hale spoke first. His voice, smooth, practiced. He said I panicked, said I endangered the team. He lied, without a blink, without shame. And my father, he didn't look at me. He didn't ask me a single question. Just read the report, the false one, and said nothing. The silence was crushing, not angry, not loud, just final. Then he spoke. Calm, cold, measured. The issue isn't who you saved, Evelyn. It's that you made a commanding officer look weak. He slid a paper across the desk. Voluntary withdrawal. Personal reasons, he said. It'll be cleaner for the academy, for this family. Beside it, a black fountain pen. Heavy, precise, like a weapon. I looked at him searching for something. Doubt, love, regret, anything human. But all I saw was a general. Not a father, not mine. I whispered, what about the truth? His eyes turned hard. The truth is what authority says it is. And right now, you have none. My hand shook as I picked up the pen and signed away everything. I walked out of that office with nothing. No badge, no rank, no future. Just a quiet shame that clung to me like smoke. I didn't speak. I didn't fight. I disappeared. For 3 weeks, I was nowhere. No plans, no purpose, no noise. I ended up in Richmond, Virginia, working the night shift at a Waffle House. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. coffee, grease, silence. My life shrank to a single counter and a mop. People came and went. I stayed. Every night, I wiped syrup from the tables, listened to the hum of the freezer, and tried not to feel. This was the bottom. Not dramatic, not loud. Just slow, quiet erasure, one shift at a time. It was near 2 a.m. when my phone buzzed. A cheap burner. No name on the screen, just blocked. I almost let it ring, but something told me, pick up. Is this Reed? A woman's voice asked. Calm, flat, no emotion. Who is this? I said, barely above a whisper. She didn't answer. Be at this address, 1400 hours. Come alone. Then silence. The line went dead. I stared at the screen. A chill ran down my spine. The address was in Arlington. Government district, not tourist, not casual. I had nothing to lose, no job worth keeping, no future worth missing, so I packed one bag and bought a one-way bus ticket. I didn't know what waited for me there, but I knew it wasn't a mistake. The building was gray, plain, no signs, no guards, no windows. I almost walked past it. It looked like nothing, and that was the point. Inside, the air was cold, still. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. She was waiting in a small conference room, late 40s, crisp uniform, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "I'm Colonel Karen Whitmore," she said. No handshake, no smile, just facts. She gestured to the chair across from her. On the table, my file. Thick, heavier than I expected. She opened it without looking at me. "We've reviewed your records, Evelyn, the official one, and the real one." I didn't speak, didn't breathe. 3 lives saved, she said, punished for doing the right thing. Then she looked at me straight on. "We're interested in people like you." Colonel Whitmore slid a binder toward me. Thick, plain cover, no label. "This is the Orion Division," she said. "Officially, we don't exist." She didn't blink, didn't pause. "You'll hold no rank, earn no medals. No one will ever say your name out loud." I opened the binder slowly. Inside, briefings, mission reports, redacted names. "You'll disappear from every federal database," she said. "Your past erased, your identity rebuilt." I looked up. Her eyes were steady. "You'll never be honored, never be seen, but you'll have purpose, and no one will lie to you again." Something broke in me at that. A truth I hadn't known I needed. No medals, no spotlight, just the work and the truth. I reached for the pen and signed. Training began the next morning. No uniforms, no ranks, just silence. They didn't teach me how to fight. I already knew that. They taught me how to vanish, how to live between lines, behind doors. I learned to build fake lives in hours, new names, new jobs, new memories. I learned how to sit in a cafe for 6 hours, unnoticed, unread, invisible. I studied data patterns, signals, movements, learned how to predict a man's next step by the way he stirred his coffee. No flags, no parades, just quiet skill sharpened in the dark. At night, I lay awake in my bunk, the name Evelyn Reed fading a little more each day. I wasn't becoming someone else. I was becoming no one, and that was the point. They taught me how to listen. Not just to words, but pauses, shifts, silence. I learned how power hides itself. In hallway glances, in paper trails, in tone. My world became shadows and signals, tracking whispers no one else noticed. They didn't praise, they didn't comfort, they watched, measured, tested. I passed every test, not because I wanted to win, but because I had nothing left to prove. My reflection changed, hair color, posture, eyes. The cadet in uniform was gone, and in her place, a ghost who saw everything. Colonel Whitmore once said, "You won't belong anywhere, but you'll know everything." She was right. I wasn't part of the world anymore. But I had learned how to move through it unseen, but never blind. The first field op came quiet and fast. San Diego, docks, a stolen hard drive. In and out. That was the plan. It didn't go that way. One wrong step in a warehouse, one blind corner, a mistake, mine, and it nearly cost me everything. Gunfire, close range, sharp sudden pain. A bullet missed my heart by inches. I secured the target, got out, but I carried a new scar deep jagged across my left shoulder. The pain stayed for weeks, a reminder I wasn't untouchable. But I didn't report the mistake, didn't write it in the debrief. My file showed success. Clean, cold, complete. But my body remembered, so did my silence. After the mission, I stood in Colonel Whitmore's office. Fluorescent lights, cold walls, a single steel desk. I handed her my report. Every word precise, no mention of pain, no hint of fear. She read it in silence, then placed it flat on the table. "The report is solid," she said. "You did the job." I nodded once, ready to be dismissed. But she didn't look away. Her voice softened, just slightly. "I'm not asking about the mission," she said. "I'm asking about you. Are you okay?" That question hit me like a wave. Simple, unexpected, disarming. No one in power had ever asked me that. Not my father, not the academy. Something cracked inside me. Not pain, not weakness, just release. I looked down, tried to swallow it, tried to answer with strength, with habit. But the tears came anyway, slow at first, then all at once. Years of silence, years of holding it in. They didn't ask permission, they just fell. I didn't sob, I couldn't speak. Just sat there breathing through the weight. Colonel Whitmore didn't flinch, didn't rush me, didn't look away. She reached into her drawer, pushed a box of tissues across the desk. Then she waited, quiet, still, letting the silence do its work. When I finally looked up, her voice was steady but kind. General Reed was wrong. Evelyn, strength isn't silence, it's standing back up after breaking. Her words stayed with me long after I left that office. Not just because they were kind, but because they were true. I thought strength was armor, silence, obedience, disappearance. But she offered something else, a different kind of power. That night I couldn't sleep, so I listened to a voice I discovered months earlier. Dr. Brené Brown, a podcast on vulnerability. She spoke about courage, not as perfection, but as showing up broken and trying anyway. I had listened in secret, in the dark, with headphones in. Now those words echoed louder, aligned with Whitmore's. For the first time in 8 years, a quiet thought stirred inside me. Maybe I could reclaim my story, not rewrite it, just own it. 3 days later, my secure phone buzzed. No name, just a number I knew by heart. I stared at the screen. For a long time, I didn't move. Then I answered. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know. Taylor, he growled, not Evelyn. Taylor. Only one person called me that anymore. General Douglas Reed, my father. His voice was sharp, furious. What the hell are you doing down there? He didn't ask if I was alive. Didn't ask if I was well. He asked why one of his men had saluted me and said, General Reed, ma'am. To him, this wasn't about truth. It was about control and reputation. I didn't answer. Not right away, just held the phone, let him fill the space. His anger kept building. You're embarrassing this family, he snapped. Playing games with uniforms you didn't earn. Still, I said nothing. That silence, it used to make him furious when I was young. Now it unnerved him. You think I won't find out what you're doing? His voice dropped low and cold. I'll dig. I'll expose it. I'll end it. And there it was. The truth beneath his rage. It wasn't that I was wrong. It was that he didn't know and couldn't control it. He wasn't protecting honor. He was protecting image. And I'd become a threat he couldn't predict. I let him rant. Let every word dig its own grave. Then finally I spoke. Calm, even, cold. You won't investigate anything, General. I didn't call him Dad. Not anymore, because you don't have the clearance. Silence. Thick, sudden. He hadn't expected that. I kept going soft but sharp. And you'd better hope I never decide to use my clearance to investigate you. That ended it. I heard his breath catch. Then I hung up. No yelling, no slamming, just a click. And with that, the last tie to my past was severed. For years he silenced me. Now my silence spoke louder than his threats ever could. After the call, I didn't cry. Didn't pace, didn't break. The rage was too cold for that. It sat like stone in my chest. I went to the bathroom, stared into the steel mirror above the sink. The face looking back wasn't a soldier, wasn't a daughter. It was something new, clear, focused, unafraid. Back at my desk, I opened a secure terminal, typed one word into the search field, Nightingale. It was the name I'd given a parting gift, a military field notebook I gave Michael when he graduated officer school. He thanked me politely, then tossed it aside. What he didn't know was that inside, sewn into the cover, was a wafer-thin data disk, a back door, waiting to be opened. The disk wasn't just storage. It was a key, a signal, a silent alarm. If it was ever plugged into the wrong system, anything outside Orion protocol, it would ping my server. For 8 years, it sat untouched, buried in the back cover, forgotten. I didn't plant it as a trap. Back then, I still had hope. Hope that one day my brother might want to know the truth, and if he ever did, the door would be waiting. Now my father's threat had changed everything. Michael wouldn't ignore this. He was too curious, too sharp. He'd seen the salute, heard the silence, and he'd be asking questions. He didn't need answers yet. He just needed the right reason to start digging. So I gave him one. I drafted the message carefully. Short, precise, just enough. No names, no trace, just a whisper dropped in the right ear. I sent it through 5 encrypted relays, bounced across 3 continents, untraceable. The recipient, one of Michael's closest friends. Loyal, smart, loved puzzles more than people. The message was one line. If you want to know who General Reed really is, ask about Lieutenant Hale's report. West Point, 2016. Then I hit send. No signature, no follow-up, just silence. But I knew how it would spread. Rumors always bloom fastest in rooms full of uniforms and pride. And I knew my brother. Once doubt took root, he wouldn't let it go. Then came the hardest part, waiting. 1 day passed, then 2. Nothing. No alert, no message, just quiet, heavy and long. By day I worked missions. By night I watched the server screen, checking for a signal that didn't come. A part of me doubted maybe Michael still believed the myth, still clung to our father's version of history. I tried not to hope. Hope had failed me before. On the 4th night, just after 2 a.m., the screen blinked once. Project Nightingale activated. My breath caught. My chest tightened. He found it. He opened the notebook. And now he would see what they'd buried. The truth had started moving, and there was no stopping it now. The disk led him to a single file. 1 folder, 2 documents, same date. The first, Lieutenant Hale's original report, detailed, precise, clear. He wrote that I halted the squad, identified a critical error, and saved 3 lives. He called my actions decisive, commended my leadership under pressure. Then the second file loaded. The official report, the one our father showed him years ago, it painted me as reckless, claimed I panicked, endangered the mission. 2 versions of the same night, 1 true, 1 rewritten, and at the bottom of both pages the same signature. General Douglas Reed signed off on the truth, then signed off on the lie. Now Michael had both, and nothing about our family would ever look the same again. Soon after, a new alert appeared. Encrypted coordinates, 1 timestamp, a 24-hour diner outside Fayetteville. 0300 hours, I got there early, sat in the back booth. The place smelled like grease and bleach. Empty, but for 2 truckers and a sleepy waitress. At exactly 3 CR, Michael walked in. No uniform, no smile, just a tablet in his hand. He slid into the seat across from me, placed the screen between us. Both reports were open. He didn't say hello, didn't ask why, just stared at me, his voice low, tight. What is this, Evelyn? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He already knew. He just didn't want it to be true. So I said the only thing that mattered. You've lived by his version your whole life. Now you get to choose the truth. Michael didn't speak right away. His eyes were locked on the screen. 2 reports, 2 legacies. I watched him struggle. The soldier, the son, both sides pulling in opposite directions. Finally, he looked up, and I saw it. The break, the shift, the pain. I believed him, he said quietly. I defended him. I wore his name like armor. I nodded. So did I. He leaned back, the weight of it sinking in. We don't take this to a military court, I told him. They'd bury it, or turn it into a show. He understood. This needed to be clean, quiet, final. He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time in years I saw my brother, not my father's shadow. I'm with you, he said, and everything changed. We didn't wear uniforms, no medals, no rank, just truth. It wasn't a courtroom. It was a secured hearing room buried deep beneath an annex in D.C. No windows, no press, no ceremony. It was called a procedural integrity review. But everyone in the room knew it was a reckoning. 3 of the 5 board members were Orion, not generals, not loyalists, just minds trained to follow facts. Michael sat beside me, his jaw tight, his eyes steady. Across from us, General Douglas Reed, Retired, impeccable, rows of ribbons on his chest, he greeted the board with confidence, still convinced his reputation would protect him. But this room wasn't built for legacy, it was built for evidence. And we had all of it. I didn't raise my voice, didn't perform, I just spoke. First, Hale's original report, displayed on the monitors, clear, factual, undeniable. Then the falsified version, stamped, approved, edited, all by my father's hand. Next came the server logs, showing the login ID read accessing and altering the file from our home IP address. The room was silent. Then came the final piece. Audio clipped clear sharp, his voice, his threat. I'll find out what you're doing. I'll stop it. Don't test me. The board listened without expression. No judgment yet, just process. Finally, the chairman turned to him. General Reed, do you dispute the authenticity of this evidence? He paused, straightened his back, then said without hesitation, I do not. He didn't deny the edits, didn't try to explain the lie. Instead, he shifted tone from defense to performance. I made a command decision, he said, eyes scanning the room like a podium crowd. I protected the chain of command. I preserved the honor of a promising officer. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. He spoke of strategy, sacrifice, the greater good. He framed his betrayal as patriotism. A necessary act, he said. A necessary sacrifice. The words hung in the still air, obscene in their calmness. He wasn't just defending himself. He was trying to rewrite the meaning of what he did one more time. But this room wasn't his parade ground, and this time someone else would answer. The chair scraped back, rough, loud, final. Michael stood, his hands clenched, his voice tight with fury. A necessary sacrifice, he repeated. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. He looked straight at our father. The only thing sacrificed in that room was my sister. His voice cracked but didn't waver. She gave everything, her career, her name, her future, because she told the truth. He pointed not at the reports, but at the man who signed them. You didn't protect honor, you buried it. Then he sat, breath shaking, eyes wet, no applause, no reaction, just silence. The kind that follows truth when there's nothing left to deny. I stayed seated, my voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. I looked at him, the man who once taught me to salute. You told us honor was everything I said, but your version never included truth. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, but something behind his eyes cracked. A flicker, a fracture. The chairman turned toward him. Face, still tone flat. General Douglas Reed, he said, this board finds that you knowingly falsified a military report and used your position to intimidate a federal operative. Each word landed with quiet weight, measured, permanent, effective immediately. You are stripped of all honorary titles. Your security clearance is revoked. Then he looked at me. Cadet Evelyn Reed, your record is to be restored and sealed at the highest level. It was over. On paper, but not yet in me. He didn't move, just sat there, back straight, jaw locked. The ribbons on his chest meant nothing now. Not here, not anymore. The hearing room emptied quietly. No one spoke to him. No one looked back. Michael and I walked out without a word. No victory speech, no celebration, just air. Outside, the afternoon was humid. Heavy clouds hung low over DC. I thought I'd feel relief, maybe even pride, but instead there was only stillness. Not peace, just space. We had won, but the cost had already been paid. We didn't lose him in that room. We had lost him years ago when silence became his weapon and I became its target. Truth brought justice, but it couldn't bring him back. 3 days later, Michael showed up at my door. No uniform, just jeans, a t-shirt, and something in his eyes lighter, quieter, real. He didn't speak at first, just looked around, then reached into his pocket and placed something on my kitchen table. His captain's bars, silver, polished. Still warm from his hand. I put in for a transfer, he said. Leaving Special Forces, moving to a desk unit at the Pentagon. I stared at him stunned. You've worked your whole life for that. Why? He looked down at the bars. They don't feel right anymore. Not without thinking about what they cost you. Then he pushed them toward me. These belong to you. I shook my head. No, Michael. They don't belong to anyone. They're just metal. The honor's in the person. We sat in silence for a while. No tension, no weight, just stillness. The kind that only comes after everything has been said. In the wreckage of the family we lost, we found something else, a smaller truth, but one that held. From now on, holidays would be simple. No formal dinners, no dress codes. Just takeout pizza, maybe an old movie, and the knowledge that we were still standing. The house in Fayetteville felt like a dream now, distant, faded, a story we no longer told. And yet for the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Not the kind that's given, the kind you fight for. We hadn't rebuilt the old. We'd started something new. Just two people, choosing truth over tradition. 6 months passed. The edges softened. Michael adjusted to his new post, different world, same purpose. We met for lunch sometimes, food trucks, street benches, small talk. We never spoke about our parents again. Their absence became quiet, normal. One afternoon, he handed me something small, a silver pin. No rank, no name, just a shield. Our insignia, he said. The Reed unit, just us. I pinned it inside my jacket, close to my heart. A week later, I was deployed, a long-term assignment overseas. Before leaving, I visited the Vietnam Memorial, ran my fingers across names carved in silence. Legacy isn't medals, it's the truth you leave behind. As the C-130 lifted into the sky, I felt no anger, no fear, only stillness. I wasn't running anymore. I was flying toward who I was always meant to be. If this story found something in you, a scar, a silence, or a truth you've carried alone, you're not alone anymore. Share what it stirred in you if you're ready. And if you want to hear more stories like this, quiet, true, and worth the fight, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep the light on. And the story's coming.